Okay, let's just start turning the waist. First warm-up exercise, just to get the body moving a bit. So still the same principles, just feeling the body embedded in this sinking field, this flow downwards. So just trying to relax the body so that we can feel the forces operating as energies, as flows of energy. So just feel the ground beneath the feet. So there's no impediment inside to the flowing down of the sinking energy and the flowing up of the rising energy. So the sinking energy really, that's belongs to the earth, that's of the earth. So it's sort of got a heavy stickiness, a bit like mud. And the rising energy sort of belongs to heaven. So it's got a fineness, a refinement, a lightness. And we just want to make sure that this part here, where we normally hold on for dear life, that part is relaxed so that I can just get straight through. And just feel the cross energy, because it's very evident in this exercise. As I come into this foot and turn this way, this is the hand that's active. Yeah, so there's just a clear pathway through the body. So they say when the Tai Chi master puts his hand on you, you should feel the ground beneath his feet, because there's nothing in between. Yeah, so we're just using the hands, the arms, to gently tap the dantian and the minmeng. Just encourage them to let go. And just enjoy the turning. So turning is quite magical, because you're sweeping, the eyes are leaving the world behind. Yeah, so that the eyes cease to have any real function, any real use. So you may as well close them. And now let's just try the next one. So just here. So this is back foot. The previous one was front foot, if you like. And this is the back foot. I'm sinking into the back foot as I turn. So we don't do this very often in Tai Chi. And John used to say, bring the hands up higher. So tap the heart rather than the belly. The difficult arm is the one behind because it's difficult to get it up as high as the heart on the back. Okay. And now let's just try the third one, remember? So just pivoting on the ball of the foot. Yeah, so this one's quite interesting because it's, you know, your body, your weight is going backwards, but your spirit is really leaping out with the hand that comes up. And also with being on the front of the foot, you know, when you're on tiptoes, your spirit's just active. So it's got a quality here of that. And there's a sort of bounce to this one as well, which is spirit. Okay. And now just standing. Okay, and now let's just swing. So just a little bounce in the legs, like you're bouncing on a sort of trampoline very lightly, and just allowing the arms just to swing. And again, just trying to release any tension in the lower back. So no sense of the lower back contracting and your bum sticking out. You really want to feel the sacrum getting heavy here and flattening out, becoming vertical. So just think of a heavy tailbone and it will just pull the sacrum right. Yeah, so this is how we want the legs, sort of springy. Springy but not anxious. And then just alternate the arms. Yeah, so there's a slight twist in the waist now and a shifting from leg to leg a little bit. So as the hand comes down, it tends to pull you into that side of the body. So here there's a real sense of the two sides of the body trying to drift away from each other, which is what we want. Want to feel like we're getting wider as we relax. And again, it's cross energy. So the hand that's coming forwards is the one that has the energy in it. And the hand that's going back is the one that's yielding. Wow. Wow. And just feel the shoulders relaxing, feel the weight of the arms swinging, pulling the shoulders down. So your head is letting go of the arms. So the arms should belong to the heart, but the head tries to claim them by making the shoulders tense and pulling them up. You know, especially when you're doing dexterous, intricate work with the hands like an artist, you find they'll often got really tense shoulders. Okay. And now just up into ward off. Let's have a low one and we'll go through these points. So, yeah, so those exercises, they've just made the legs a little bit tired. So the legs just feel the ground a bit better, but they also relax across here a bit, which is all important. Okay, now let's just start the hands coming in and out. So we'll do 20. Yeah, just so you know how many we're going to do. So 3, 4, Okay, and then just bring them up to the heart level. Just let your posture slightly adjust. So when you've got the arms this high, you need to lean back a little bit with your upper back to balance the weight coming out in front of you. And then just in and out with the hands again. So again, 20 here. Okay. And then just up to the head. Yeah. So you just want the feeling that the middle of your palms are just facing this point approximately. And then just in and out of this one. Okay. And now let's just go through them. So just letting the hands come into the head, down through the heart to the belly, then let it split at the sacrum and come out. So for me, the important part is the hands coming out, separating at the sacrum. Just want those two sacroiliac joints really open. So this is the place where we'd get tense most, really, that and the neck. And they're basically the same thing, really. So effectively, the ego is here. And it's a bit like a springboard that we feel we can rely on because we feel that it's us. So we can spring from it and send out opinions and judgments and all those things into the world. So in Tai Chi, we just want to relax that and just make a connection with the ground. So we spring from the ground rather than from our own inner tension. Yeah, and when you practice it and you look at it, You realize it's not, we tell ourselves, oh, my legs just aren't strong enough, I can't hold it yet. But it's not that at all. We just don't like to let go of that sense of self. And this is why getting into energy is so important, because energy is just sort of formless and just like it flows and feels and clouds. And so there's no real landmarks inside energy. So it's much more like a process. You just got to trust it. Wow. Yeah, and in order for the mind to think, in order for you to speak, you have to bring intention. So let's just try just the one. So just feel this side of the body. Yeah, so there's a sense that this side of the body is actually trying to drift with the hand. It's trying to go out a bit. And then just try the other one. Just feel how it sort of just draws you into the leg naturally. And then just into riding horse. So now it's like this side is trying to just slip in this direction. This side is trying to slip in this direction. And then the dantian takes on its correct function, which is really just holding you together rather than creating an ego. Yeah, so just bring the hands down to here and just feel it. So when it's correct, it's got like an elastic quality. So the two sides of the body are being held together with this breathing elastic. So I remember, John, he'd always stand like this. If he was standing there chatting to you, his hands would be on his belly. Yeah. And it's like that, the presence of the hands just gives it permission just to relax away the tension and just institute the correct springiness, the correct tone. So it's a tone, the tone of awareness, if you like, the tone of consciousness, rather than the tension of anxiety. Okay, so just bring the hands up again. So it should feel reasonably stable now. I mean, the reason people don't like standing is because they just don't feel terribly stable. There's a shake. So we want the spirit to tremble, but we don't want the body to too much. Yeah? So here it's just relaxed. It's just settled on these two big feet. Okay. And now let's just move side to side a little bit. So again, the important thing is just the pulling down of gravity. Yeah, so we're using the bent leg to push ourselves at the moment. So this tends to be the most forceful means of movement when you're straightening the leg that you have your weight in. So we would like to just try and make it as relaxed and energetic as possible. And so just think in terms of pressing in that direction to come this way. And if you can get it nicely, then there's a real sense of tearing, like you're tearing yourself out of where it really wants to be. So I'm squeezing, and then the return is just sending me this way. So the legs just have to be strong enough so that you're quite content being in one of them. It's not trying to get rid of you all the time. Yeah, so my weight wants to stay here. So I just squeeze on the ground, and then I just rupture the ground. I just inject, and I will go the other way. When you do it with another person, when you use this energy to sort of take someone with you, it's got a lovely feeling. It's really, really sort of respectful and gentle. So when if someone's using this energy and they're holding you here and just moving you from leg to leg as well, there's a real sense that they've lifted you a little bit and then very gently just moved you across and then just deposit you. Yeah. So you can feel that in your own body as well. Yeah, so as you apply the pressure, there's a sense of something in you hovering, and then you just let it glide across as gently as possible. And then very, very carefully, you just deposit it into the leg. So it's very much like if you had like a really valuable vase and you had to move it from one table to another. That same sort of care and attention. So you just lift it very gently. You can't squeeze too much, otherwise you'll break it. And then you just move it across. And then very, very carefully, you just put it down on the table. And then the other side. Okay. And now let's just try the tilting one. So it's exactly the same idea, but it's a little bit more like a spring. So if you imagine you had like a coiled spring and you just press down on it, so the spring would be getting flatter. But the flatter and flatter it got, the more and more push you would feel coming up into your body. So that's the feeling here. I'm leaning on the leg and it's sinking, it's dropping down, so it's compressing. But the energy coming up to try and compensate, if you like, is getting stronger and stronger. Yeah. So the more I go down, the more the up is in evidence, and then I just let myself flow with the up. So I'm sinking, 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 sinking. Something is coming up, and you just switch your mind. So from being with the sinking, you allow the upward to just take you. Yeah, so you can't be too much with the sinking. It's what tends to happen with people. You know, well, I'm sunk. How can I move the other way? Yeah. Well, if you're sinking and watching and listening, then you'll realize there's another energy coming up. And you just sort of decide to go with that. So ooh. So the important thing here is just letting the leg bend, but you're sinking into the spring. So there's always the potential of it returning. And it's a return, not because you've made a decision and told your muscles, okay, tighten here to straighten the leg. It's a natural boing. It's like the bounce of the spring. It's a function of the springiness of the legs, not your mind. So here and whoa. Sinking. And then just gradually so let the heel start coming up of the far leg. You have to be really with the legs. We tend to just think of the legs as like being these two slaves underneath us. But here they're really part of the body. And then just lift the foot up it doesn't have to come up any more than 1 centimeter. You want to feel that, when you lose your balance a little bit. And at that point of lifting the foot up, you don't want to straighten the supporting leg. You just want, if anything, you sink even more. You just trust the stability of your sinking. Yeah, so this is one of those things that just needs to be practiced. Yeah, and if you feel you're getting worse at it, it's normally just an indication that you're just looking at it a little bit more honestly. Ooh. Yeah, so feel the dantian, the middle of the wheel. So now the wheel is on the vertical plane, if you like. Yeah, so this, you can't really think to yourself when you do this, otherwise you'll mess it up. Yeah, so it's a bit like waving hands in the clouds, but just the other way around, the hands the other way around. Sinking into the spring, and the spring should just be able to hold me. So just feel it. Any anxiety in your knee will want to pull inwards. So just really feel as though you're leaning on a surface here. Yeah, so you want the outside edge of the foot almost to feel like a surface that you're leaning on, you're leaning into. Ooh. Okay. Now let's bring it back. Ooh. Okay. And now let's just, so just the full and the empty, but it's also up and down. Yeah, so the empty tends to rise and the full tends to sink. And again, we're sinking into the leg to lift the other. Yeah, so this is just like a really pure version of what we've just done. And I'm flowing into this foot, but there's a sense that there's like a wall here and I'm sort of leaning on it, which is just the outside edge of the foot. It's like a sort of firmness. Yeah, so one of the consequences of the tension that we house here is that we don't really fill the body properly. There's a lot of dead space inside the body where we'd never really venture. So we're just trying to open it up and just fill our space. So the mind almost becomes like a template of the body, or the body's like a stencil of the mind. So one. Yeah, so it's got a feeling of leaning like this, but without not too much. Yeah. Whoa. And it sort of tends to gravitate back into the middle. And that's just fear. Yeah, so my danchen has a sort of elastic tone that's just holding me together. Ooh. So just lift the foot, try and get the knee higher than the hip, and then it will pull your tail under a little bit. And the feeling that the foot is protecting the knee. So you want this real sort of, a bit, you know, the way the ballet dancers can just point their toes. When Narayaf used to get terrible cramps when he pointed his toes like that. So here, my toes are really pointed. And then when I put the foot down, I really put the foot down with the toes and sort of rummage a bit. And then, so the whole thing just becomes more active from the ground just with doing it. Wow. Ooh. And ooh. And then just start to feel the heel. So you put the toes down, and then it's really as you start moving the weight, the whole foot goes down. And then as the foot really starts filling, you localize the heel. So the heel injects down. So the heel of this foot, the toes of this foot, and then as I change foot, switch full and empty, they switch round. So now the heel of this foot, the toes of this foot. And now the toes are so active, they just want to lash out and kick. And then down, toes, slowly the heel becomes dominant, but it's always shrouded by the toes. You know, the hardness is always masked by softness. Ooh. So this side becomes full, this side empties. So we want it not just empty of your weight, but empty of your mind. If there's any residue of mind here, it'll be a stickiness, a lack of clarity. So every part of me comes into this foot, and then this is almost like a sort of an unknown quantity. Or full, empty. And full. Yeah, so the spirit is in the toes, yeah. So it's toes and knees, yeah. So toes are reaching out, and then the toes curl. And that brings the heel down. I go into the heel. And then this one can come up. Okay, so let's just come back. Yeah, let's just try a few more of these just to split the body again. Okay. And now moving side to side by bending the leg. So I sink into this leg. This leg gets straighter and straighter. This is the empty leg. And then I just let it bend and let that draw me across. So this needs endless practice, really, because we will always try and help with this leg. So I've really got to almost cling to this foot with my inertia, with my weight, so that this foot really has to pull. Ooh, this one. And then just start flowing. So, yeah, so full and empty. You have to be really happy in the one leg. There's no sense of you wanting to go into the middle. That will give it a feeling that you've still got a little bit of something here. So this is full, this is black, this is white, completely different. And then this one just starts pulling, yeah. See, I push through this leg. So I pull and and again, yeah, just wait until you're in the leg and then start this foot pulling. And then I just let go and let myself into this leg and then start pulling here. I'm in the leg, I'm happy in the leg. And then something wants to pull me out. It's almost the sense that this isn't me. It's actually just happening. I'm trying my best to resist it in a way. Yeah, so it's like this, the full side, this is like the mundane and this is like the magical. You know, if suddenly you had to do something superhuman, if your life, you know, a matter of life and death, and you really had to sort of do something amazing, and you did, it wouldn't be your mind, it would be your spirit. And so that's in this side. Wow. Ooh. And we just have to try and take away any vestige of mind from the spirit. Otherwise, we'll mess it up, we'll clog it up. So I'm pulling here. This is just. It's a bit like, you know, when you peel the label off something and you have to do it really gently, otherwise you'll tear it and leave half the label behind. So it's a bit like that. You're sort of teasing something. And then once it starts going, then there's like a flow, but you have to keep it really even. Wow. Wow. It's what, you know, John used to say, you know, basically your practice is like preparing you for events of spirit, like events that require something out of you that's just a little bit unusual. And I guess just an enlightened master is just someone that's just in that space, using that energy all the time. So nothing's habitual. So just feel how it's stretching this area. It's exactly what we want. Just encouraging it to let go and get this sort of tensile, springy tension instead of the rock hard, frightened tension. Yes, as soon as you lift this hand, that's cross energy. It's just, you can feel it. You can feel it. It's got a different quality than when I do this. Yeah? When I lift this hand, it's coming from the muscles and everything, but this, it just sort of floats up by sinking into this leg, and then this starts pulling. Ooh. I just fill the leg. I have to let go here so that it can all go in. This floats up from this rising energy that is a consequence of my sinking down. And then I just start curling here. It's like I start winding up. I start reeling in the fish, yeah? I start curving. I bring a curve into the straight, and it moves my body. Sinking here, just let go here so that everything can flow in here. Bring the arm up. And wow, you just start winding up. Wow. One more. So just sinking down. Just something has to let go here just to let this become 100. Yeah. And just release, making sure you have to be really careful that you don't pull the hip up like this when you start pulling with this leg. So just make sure you stay down, heavy sacrum. Coming into this foot. And then as you become still, wow, there's an added relaxation. Yeah, that's the terror of stillness, if you like. The bottom drops out of the bucket and ooh, shit. Okay, so let's just bring it back here. Yeah, so this feeling of widening, which I think of at the moment as like my sacrum just driving the pelvis open. That's what they call the inner smile. Yeah, so when you smile inside, you get this feeling that you're spreading. John always used to say, just look at a Chinese face. Their faces are wide. It's like their eyes are wide apart and they're rounder than ours. They don't have these sunken in, harrowed eyes. And they just look just more relaxed, yeah? They're more open. Yeah, so that's really important, that you sort of come to the practice with a heart of compassion, with this sort of openness. For myself, for so long, my practice was basically a form of punishment. I was punishing myself, but I was also punishing the world. So if you read Nietzsche, Nietzsche is the greatest genius that's ever lived, in my opinion. And he said at one point, if you really look at your motivations, then it's always revenge. Yeah. You're always trying to get your revenge for some slight. Yeah. So like the ego is made of all these encrusted resentments. Yeah. And each one you're just trying to punish the world. It's really subtle, but yeah. Freud said he had to stop reading Nietzsche, otherwise there would have been nothing left for him to discover. Okay, now let's just try and do a little bit of form. Let's try Fair Ladies, yeah? Because in a way that's just really simple and very clear, full and empty and cross energy, yeah? So let's go from the beginning, just go straight into Fair Ladies, really, once we've done all this clobber, yeah? So just sinking down, knee coming up, just stepping out. And then just, this leg just gives, it relaxes, and that draws me across and swallows up the world. And then here, this is just me making a circuit with the person in front of me. And then here, just release and relax. So I'm going to do and then just bring this foot and just put it down really where you like. Yeah. And then just swing. And as you come into the foot, yeah, so, and then just put the toes down first. And again, just let the leg melt a little to get the heel down, and then just let that leg really soften to bring you forwards into the first Fair Lady. And then just going through the four of them. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3. Again, toes down first, round, 4, and again, 1. Again, full and empty, really make sure you're in this leg, and then this will be full of energy, potential. Step, toes down, drawing into the leg. Step, toes down, heel comes down, you inject into it. And if anything, this heel can come up. Remember Sun Lutang? He used to bring his back heel up all the time. And then round. And so this is the final one. And then just as though you're going to come into the ward off left, just bring it back to here. Yeah, there's one of those sort of peaking forms that starts off like that. Let's try again. So. And then I just melt. I melt it into the leg. Yielding. And just as you step out, just swing the arm out as well. And then as you bring the weight into the foot, just bring the other hand underneath and ward off. And then stepping here, toes down. Heel goes down very gently, and then you bring the weight into the heel. And all the weight in the right leg. Toes down first if you can. Full and empty. Ooh. Toes. Full and empty. Wow. And then just This is pull and push, isn't it? I always forget the names. Okay, again, so one more. Let's just make sure the legs are just really loose. And then it's just, you just let something go and that lets it all happen, lets the down and the up both operate. And then, you feel as soon as you reach stillness, there's like something just drops. I turn, I step. So this step could be anywhere, yeah? And just 1, 2, heel, step, toes down first, pulling into the front of the foot, to the back of the foot. And 1, 2, 1. Again, full and empty with this stretch here and the dangle. And step. Okay, and then just attention posture. So head suspended, tail dangling, but also this area stable and the head swaying. Now, there's always two images, if you like, one from the top down and one from the ground up. And just feel the feet. So remember when I asked John where he felt his root and he tapped the top of his head. So there's this sense that your feet, that rising energy has just come up through you unobstructed and is just forming that head top feeling. Okay, great. So let's